here you go.
Figured it out. Nice. Okay. So I really like to, and I had to take my logo off this. I really made this just specifically for business portion of um PDP. And hold on, let me see. Got it. Okay. So I use this for all of my business goals for the year, but not all of, because all of is too many usually. So what I like to do is take three major goals for the year. And this is for business, but it could include personal. For instance, I just said I needed to take a walk. I needed to debrief. So if one of your business goals is to have more of a work-life balance, then maybe your number one goal is taking a walk once a day.
Mhm.
Like it does not have to be a business goal that's specifically about money. That's what I wanted to get out today.
Mhm.
Because a lot of the time, personal life leads into business life. And if both are in good balance and good cahoots with each other and they're not arguing, well, then the business goals are successful. Business goals can be achieved. There's one other thing that's really important about goal setting, and that I'm sure everyone has heard this before. Make them measurable, make them actually achievable and realistic. There's something called SMART goals, and it lays it out. SMART are specific, measurable. There's all these different abbreviations for it. But if you just make sure they're achievable, that's really the most important part. And everyone knows when they write a goal down and they laugh, it's probably a little too high of a goal. So I also like to be conservative in my goals so I can meet the minimum and I can achieve the high.
Mhm.
So by the means of that means if I can meet my minimum within 6 months instead of 12 months, well, I know I'm going to grow my business. And that includes taking a walk a day because, like I said, I was so much more successful at studying when I just took a step back, thought about things, told myself I will succeed, and got back into it. Because if you're telling yourself you're going to fail, that's probably what's going to happen. So that's main goals with business goals for me, and setting them is making sure they're measurable, making sure they're achievable, and making sure they're super realistic for myself. Because I am not, and I know there's a lot of stuff going on in him, and this is why he's at the top of my mind. I'm not a Grant Cardone. I'm not trying to be a real estate guru and get a bunch of investors and start selling a bunch of real estate, renovating, and all that stuff. I'm doing it on my own on the side. I slowly do things. Conservative. You see what I mean with conservative goals? We have to know who we are and where we stand. So when it comes down to this, I made this very blank. So I'm sorry it's super boring because I wanted to remove all the extra stuff. So it was just PDP, and you could take this and edit it however you want, really. But I always write down those three main goals for the year. And then this is a Q1 because we are at the end of Q1, but at the end of every quarter, I do a check in with myself. And a check in with myself is, where are we? What do we need to get done? And this is actually the perfect timing, like the first 2 weeks of March, because you got 2 more weeks where you can actually achieve, if it's walk once a day, you got 14 days to do that and achieve that goal and move on to the second quarter to do it again. So this isn't a check-in once a year. This is a 4-time check-in of the year. Now, when I do my real estate goals for this, my real estate goals is one house a year. I'm not trying to do 50 houses in a year, one house a year. So one of my business goals for real estate, I could just write it here, and here I could edit it on the screen. Look at that fanciness. So if it's one house per year for me, and I know that's going to work for my own plan because it's all about me, because I'm talking about my plan,
Mhm.
then I would say what, who, where, how, and when. And I would set that for quarter 1 of, okay, where are we and what do I need to accomplish so that I can get to quarter 4 and meet this goal. So it's
So
not every goal each quarter. Does that make sense?
so like with like your one house per year, like let's just go through this. Like what is your review look like on that goal?
Perfect. And this is actually the perfect time of the year to do it, because then with real estate, you need a few more months, but say a short sales goal, you can do this within a month and still succeed, or 2 weeks and still succeed.
Mhm.
But let's focus on real estate. It's a longevity thing. So we've got 3 more quarters to complete. So what do I need in order to accomplish that? Well, I need to make 5 new real estate agent contacts. That's literally, it's a, what's the word for it? It's a calculation that I already have. I don't know what the word is. I'm blanking right now, but it's a calculation I've already made where if I meet 5 new real estate agents in a year, I will get 1 house out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's like almost a guarantee. I know it can't guarantee anything, but it's a systematic thing for me. So actually my last real estate agent is already working on the next project, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
So you find who you like in the industry, but until I find that perfect person in the perfect area for me, well, it takes me 5 new real estate agent contacts and consistent. So that might be a monthly coffee.
Mm-hmm.
You have to communicate. So this is just the what. Now it's the who, okay? So who in the real estate industry? Let's get specific. Well, it's real estate agents that also flip or invest. It's not just a regular real estate agent. I'm looking for specifically 5 new real estate contacts, but who specifically? They have to be people that are actively doing it themselves or they don't understand my methodology.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, next step is where and how. Where and how, actually, the best time to buy a property is in the wintertime. So I want to prep for a purchase for the end of the year. So where and how? Well, wintertime purchase, and the reason why, I'm going to say low cost to buy and low inventory. I'm sorry, not low inventory, low buyer inventory. I didn't want you guys to think I meant real estate inventory because that's not true. Real estate, there's lows and highs, but you can always find a buy. So you want low buyer inventory. So when, I'm sorry, this should have been wintertime. Purchase, and then when? Wintertime. Easiest part. And we can even get more specific on this. And I would say between the months of December and February. Okay. So this would be the systematic that I would do a check-in with myself. So at Q1, I would say, all right, so how many new real estate agents have I made contacts with? Okay, how many of those are real estate agents that also flip and invest? Because I can't just talk to every single one. Now, you know that it's not everyone's your type of client or your type of need. Purchase, low cost to buy. So I want to make sure that it's a low cost to buy and low buyer inventory. When is that? Wintertime, December, February. So what do I need to do until then to acquire a property? Okay, now you don't go into your separate tracking and you say, okay, well, in this case, I'm just going to say it to just be. Okay, so that's what I would need for the total cost of acquisition. So now I can set my own goals for how I'm going to do that because I know the steps to get the property. Now I have to fund it. Mm-hmm. Now, that was kind of the opposite about how I usually teach real estate because obviously we would start with what do you need for the down payment? What do you need for closing costs? What's your target property? That's a whole different conversation, which that's my side hustle. So I'll be talking about that actually in the side hustle on how I acquire properties. What do I do personally, financially, in my budget, and my spreadsheet, my planning? That's a completely different conversation where we'll talk about that in the side hustles. But for the goals in my check-in, this is certainly a first quarter deal right here. I'm saying to myself, when do I need to be prepared? So often we take ourselves into short-term methods. So we try to say, oh, well, I need to get a house by the end of the year, so I got to start tomorrow. Well, no, actually, you have 3 other quarters to meet this goal. So how do you do all this in the meantime before December and February? So do you see how I break it down and I want to be able to meet this goal by the end of the year and I want to buy in December, but there's a mortgage process to it. There's other things that come into this goal. So on a goal basis, I'm actually going to switch over to a different example that I used in 2023. And I kept it really simple because I do not like complicated in life. Okay? So, and real estate can get complicated. So let's go back to a simple option. Okay. This is for anyone in product sales. And I actually use this for a client who was in product sales that we really had to, income was the one major thing. When we broke down, a financial plan, a business plan, however you want to call it, we broke it down and we figured out, well, actually, we just need to create more income. It's not that expenses were too high or anything like that. There was no room for volatility in their plan. So when you're thinking about my business and I'm having a lot of ups and downs, this is a great method, especially for someone in product sales. Stephanie, for yourself, if your goal is to sell your consulting hours, well, maybe you're going to start with giving a few, like me, when you were doing the clay package, the green clay package with a little bit of the oil, so I could understand how it works on my skin. Well, if that's what you're trying to sell, we're going to use that as an example as a product, right? You're going to sell your product or your service, but it leads with a product. Okay. So we want reoccurring, right? Reoccurring is the best. So one of our business goals this year is going to be acquiring 15 clients per quarter, including reoccurring. So that doesn't mean 15 new clients. It just means we're going to take on 15 clients per quarter. Okay. And Liz and Rachel, who are already signed up, they're going to come back. So I only need 18 new for the quarter. Okay. So what do we need? Well, we need to create a need for the product. Stephanie, I'm going to use you as an example because you do this on a great basis. Having skin consultations, or saying, I'm working this month with people with acne. I'm working this month with people with aging skin. Okay. There's a product that you can sell them, but you're leading with well, what's the need? How do I create a disturbance? I'm sure you guys have heard this, create a disturbance, right? So the goal check-in would be, have I created that need yet? I'm 2 months into quarter one. Have I created that need? Has the person with acne reached out to me? And if they haven't, why not? Okay. So that's my first check-in, is have I created the need and at least one person that needed? Because you only need 14 after that, right? We're breaking it down simple for ourselves at the end of quarter one, because we've had enough business get us all riled up, throw us off of our scale. And we're getting back to the focus. This is the refocusing. This is your own self-counseling. I love it. So who, right? You might say, well, actually, I want to start talking about centers of influence. So say there was a specific type of oil and skin treatment for babies that you wanted to focus on. Okay. And we're just going to use that as an example. I know we're switching around, but I'm going to use that as an example since it's on the paper already. So say you had a product for skin for babies and you wanted to consult on, I know when I was a kid, I had really bad eczema as a kid, and you were consulting moms on eczema. Well, you might go to a lactation coach and some doulas, and you might start educating them and sending them product samples so that they can use it on the next child that they run into with eczema. Oh, let me try this actually. If it works, talk to Stephanie. That's a great center of influence, right? Somebody who's going to speak highly of you and already knows your product. So that's who. Okay, so your check-in for quarter one would be, have I spoke to enough centers of influence? And what is that number of centers of influence that I need? So if you talk to one doula and they end up referring you 5 clients, well, at that point, you don't need 50 doulas. You just need some solid doula relationships, and you're probably going to focus there. So have I met someone, and where are they, that have become my center of influence? Who are they? Well, guess what? You got 3 more quarters to figure it out if you haven't. That's the greatest part about these check-ins. And then let's keep moving on, because it's very simple when we get into the flow of things. Where and how? Well, we don't all want to go to BNI. We don't all want to go to chamber. We don't want to all, get involved with those big marketing groups or networking groups. Sorry, marketing groups. That's actually hilarious, but networking groups. All right. So when it comes down to it, you don't all want to be doing that, right? That's not everyone's product or business that fits that model. However, you can go on Facebook and Google search local lactation coaches and local doulas. You can go on LinkedIn and you can find people that are just hosting their own business site there, right? What you do then is you send a sample and leave a number. Or my favorite method, actually, and my little secret to product sales for clients is, why don't you send them something and tell them the day that you're going to pick it up? They know when you're coming. They're most likely going to be available. And if they're running out the back door when you arrive, you know that's not your person, right? So I do love that method. So the where and how is actually really important to this, because if we're looking for centers of influence, because we know referral-based business is the best type of business for product sales, then we go ahead and we go to where and how, right? Because we can't just walk on the street and find a center of influence. You can walk into a store, though, a mom's store. I've done that before. And I've gotten invited to a mom seminar the next week. It's great. I love doing that. Still knocking on business doors. They like to see you because they want traffic. When this is the part, okay, we can get to where and how, and a lot of marketers, actually, like marketing companies, they miss out on this one section that I've divulged into, and that's when. When are you going to do this? Because it's so easy to figure out all of these things, but then throw it into your schedule with your kids, your exercise routine, or your walking routine, or whatever routine you have on a daily basis. Yeah, throw this in now too. Do it. It's not going to happen. So my biggest thing is when. Well, messaging calls every Monday and Friday, every single week. Put it in your calendar. Your goals should be in your calendar. I know Meeks actually said this last one that we were doing that was based off of just us having some off the top conversation about goal setting at the beginning of the year. And the one thing she said was she actually puts her email times in her calendar. I think that's brilliant. If emails are a way you're going to make business and a way you're going to get referrals by doing quick service for people, well, then why are you not having it in your calendar? I actually adopted that from her after that call, and I think it was brilliant. So I have a call and email time, and because I'm studying right now, I moved it around. Guess what? You can move your calendar around. That's the greatest part of it, but it's in your calendar. So I highly suggest, and you know, back when I was a New York lifer and doing the whole life insurance side of things and selling life insurance, the biggest thing they would always say is call on Monday, every single Monday, the same exact time, and people start to predict your phone calls. I'm like, that doesn't work. Come on. That's so salesy and sleazy. You know, it doesn't work. It does. There's studies and it does work. So if you're able to reach that doula who's the center of influence on Monday at noon because she's taking lunch and she doesn't work too hard on Mondays, I suggest you call her on Mondays at noon. You're going to have great conversation. So I hope that makes sense with how you can check in with yourself. And, you know, on the when, if you check in Q2, for instance, and you say, actually, Mondays and Fridays suck for days. Well, you can come in here and you can say Tuesday and Thursday. And now your Q2 is going to be changed to Tuesday and Thursday every week. And you just change it. So it's important to also update the goals for Q2 so that you can go in and also check in on Q2 and make sure that your change worked. So does that make sense? Is there any questions? I know I just spit out some information. I'm pretty sure I met the time.
Yeah, on this, I don't think time's as important as the conversation and the sharing of the ideas, you know?
I get sick of hearing my own voice after a while, though, so I'm in.
Does anybody need the chart up, or should we take the screen off and just share conversation?
That's what I was going to ask. Good. You're sharing it, right?
What?
You're going to share it with everyone, Stephanie?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll have a fresh blank copy for yourself. I don't know if you're doing email or Facebook, but Stephanie's gonna.
Yeah. Any Yeah, I mean, I like that the idea of just even just doing a check-in, you know what I mean? Like so many people set their goals and then they're just like they wait till October and then they're like, "Oh shit, am I making my goals?" or, whatever. Oh, I didn't do it, but if you're checking in, you can tweak and figure out, are they truly realistic? Are they things like that. Which I think is great and something that I know I could do better at.
You know what? Print up too. I forget who it was. I think it was Kirsten last
Mm,
week. I loved how whoever it was, if it was Kirsten, she's awesome, said that in order to start journaling, because that became a challenge, she actually put the journal on her pillow. Hello, that is like the most genius thing. When she said that, I wrote that down. And my thought is, if these goals are as important to you as, journaling or something like that, well, put it on your desk, hang it on the wall next to your desk. If you don't have a desk, put it next to your kitchen table or hang it on your fridge.
mhm.
It's all about presence too, where I always have my goals everywhere. Like my wall behind us is actually disgustingly full of paper hanging on the wall. Um, I just like to have my goals listed. I like to have my charts. It
Mhm,
depends. Are you a visual person or an audio person?
mhm.
Record yourself saying them. If you're audio, start recording yourself saying your check-ins.
Yeah.
Repeat them after. I don't know. It's
Well,
these
and
are
then I
it's so
think it's
important.
also like important to think about in the sense of like you were saying, have your small attainable goals. Well, like I know Carol has a very big hairy goal that isn't necessarily something she even envisions happening fully this year, but in order to get there, she's got to achieve all the little goals, like, this little one and this little one, so it's like for,
I'm doing a walkthrough Friday.
nice. Very cool.
Congrats.
Yeah. So,
I love that. And that the little goals is what you're saying.
yeah, like the little goals are what add up to that big, hairy, audacious goal that, some people are afraid of. But when it really comes down to it, it's like you can still have that big, hairy, audacious goal. You just have to figure out how to break it down so it is bite size and attainable, just like, baby steps. So,
There's no timeline either. I get it's a year goal, but if you have to move it to the next year, you just got 4 times better at that goal by doing a 4-time check-in
mhm,
for the year.
mhm,
Like Stephanie, it's so simple, and then you get to life.
mhm,
And so I like to say, like, you can't just want to do it, you have to do it. And so that's why I really loved Kirsten's thing where she was saying, put it on your pillow, like put it somewhere where it's so obvious. Do it though. I love checking in with yourself. And this doesn't have to just be, like I said, it could be goal number 2, take 1 walk a day.
mhm.
And on your calendar now, you have your walk time and when you want to walk. I know with the winter time, you probably want to go later in the afternoon because of the temperature outside. And
Mhm.
I'm so happy it's warming up now.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
uh, just checking in is so important. Jessica, I hope you got to hear the whole thing and at least see the screen.
I saw part of it. Yeah, they did an EKG and then I had to do a second Zoom with the PA. Welcome to my life this week.
You'll get through it. You'll get through it. Baby steps.
Yeah. Yeah. And I keep
Do you
saying, I mean,
need
this is
anything from us?
I'm good. Actually Jen's gonna they're calling more stuff into the pharmacy there. So Jen's gonna do a Target, see, because my CVS is in Target, so she'll do a run for me. Cause I'm like, I haven't been discharged from the hospital, I'm just home. So Katie, the paramedic, is here this morning. And so it's like, there'll be a courier or two, it'll come by. Nurses and paramedics have been coming through. I just did the first virtual with the PA. It's a thing,
Mhm.
but I'm not in the hospital, so I'm okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Speak out if you need anything, though. They will help, like Stephanie was saying.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to you guys, all my friends. It's so much easier for me to be the one asking as opposed to the one responding, that I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't,
With you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. So
How this call started, I was telling Rachel about how
yeah,
I don't like to open up about things, but once I did, I was like, oh, look, there's all this support that I did
Yeah.
not.
that you don't expect or believe, because that hasn't always been the case.
Yeah.
So it's, or asking for things and then they actually happen. Like, this is a new and revelatory idea to me,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to it being weaponized or you're just kidding or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it is, oh, it's a lot. And I was talking to my doctor last night and we were kind of cutting it up, and because I have a new theory that hospitals, airports, and casinos have a lot in common. And she thought it was hysterical. So she's like, you need to write this up for an article. I was like, all right, I guess I will. So
I could see that.
like the rules of time don't matter. No one's sober one way or the other. For God's sakes, I got admitted and was having surgical consults at 3 o'clock in the morning. And someone's asked me if I want to do an advanced end of life directive. I was like, not at 5:30 in the morning. Like, as if this was a totally normal time to have these conversations.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, if I wanted to name a power of attorney or a proxy at 5 o'clock in the morning after I hadn't slept for 24 hours.
When they ask all the
Okay.
important questions.
Huh?
That's like not even supposed to happen. Like, they're not supposed to do that while you're fatigued.
Well, I also had like 9 surgical consultations. So, or, met 9 surgeons over 3 teams or something.
How can you make any decisions?
That's what they want, somebody else there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, and so I had gone to the doctor. She took one look at me, bounced me to the ER. So I drove myself to the emergency room, which apparently most people don't do either. Cause I was like, how do I get my car out? They're like, you can't drive home. They're like, we'll figure out an Uber. I was like, my car is here. They're like, no, you're not driving home. I was like, but I drove here. How do I get my car out? And they're like, no. And I was like, so yeah, we went back and forth on that for a bit.
So is your car still at the hospital?
No, 2 of my friends came.
You have great friends.
And I do. Jen was one of them. She busted in the hospital 2 hours before visiting hours started. And the nurse kicked her out.
It sounds like that would happen.
Yeah. 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 So I've got a tracker. I got a tracker. They call a lot. It is a production, but I'm not in the hospital with the incessant beeping. And I'm sleeping under my favorite sheets with the dog. We can.
Yeah, you got the dog too.
Yeah. So
Couldn't
the
leave the
dog
dog.
when I was in the hospital, the dog went upstairs to my friend Kendra's house apartment. They went shopping the next day. It was very cute. Yeah, and so I have it, and because normally with this tracker thing, you're not supposed to go, it's like you're in the hospital, so you're not supposed to go far. Except I can kind of function on my own. So I was like, I have to walk the dog.
Are you sure you haven't been arrested and you don't have an ankle bracelet?
I know, it's on my arm.
You're
It's
on
my
house arrest.
bicep, not my ankle. I know. I haven't
It sounds
changed.
like.
There's probably some similarity. I've never experienced the other. But and I probably have another day or date. We're kind of saying Thursday, Friday. I would have cracked up if I had been in the hospital for this long just to get an IV antibiotic.
Crazy.
And it's still cheaper to do all of this, sending people out 5 times a day than me being in the hospital. If you can believe that one.
Mhm.
I believe it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yep.
All right. So, all right. Does anybody else have any other topics or questions about the goals and reviews and stuff, or should we talk about some random other thing?
We can do random other.
Okay,
I
I'm gonna
didn't
stop recording.
kind of miss the goal